The competition between Steve and I continues. Our LN2 cheat has failed us, but we have just received a very unofficial, very secretive source of a modified BIOS for this card that gives us unlimited power. You know what, guys? I got new merch. It's available now, crowdme.com/Jayztwocents. We got zip-up hoodies, we got tri-blend, we got a new logo. I digress. Since 2012, it's a digress logo. You guys have been asking for that. Anyway, we got all kinds of stuff. Zip-up hoodies, beanies, polos. Don't take my word for it, because obviously I can't do this ad. So just look in the description below and you guys will find the link. Thanks. We tested this card on air. We set the fan curve to max, 100%, because normally if you set the fan curve to max, it uses a few watts. And if you're on the edge of stability, 5 watts or 10 watts to the fans could actually reduce your overall stability. We actually saw on air this thing pull 420 watts at its, 420 watts, guys. 420 watts at its max draw while overclocked, telling us that we could theoretically, and that was at like 65% of its power draw is what it said. So you do the math on that, how far this will allow us to go. So the question is, can a software mod like this allow us to actually forego any sort of shunt modding or any sort of soldering or any of that stuff? It's a bit of a band-aid. I mean, there's still gonna be things in place, but the software at least isn't gonna be getting involved. And what I alluded to when I said, spoiler alert, I think I said it in this take, I don't remember. We were able to pretty much max what we were getting with our XC Ultra with the modified BIOS on chilled water on air on the For the Win 3 card. Now I want to go straight to the Kingpin card and or the Titan. I've talked about the fact that the Titan cards I want to use in the gold build, and that's still happening. I'm just being lazy because I've got to take the CPU out of my workstation, which is my workstation. So until I'm ready to finish that, I can't have that system down. Order of events, obviously. But I thought, well, I still would love to beat Steve's score without using Titans. And the next logical jump up is gonna be the For the Win 3 card, which has a very overbuilt VRM delivery, or power delivery, very, very stable. And like I said, we saw 2160 megahertz on the core on this guy on air. Something we couldn't even come close to achieving on the XC Ultras, even when we had the air conditioner plumbed up to it. So now I'm gonna take my homebrew, once again, my little homebrew stuff, that's why quick disconnects really come in handy. We're gonna hook this up. We are gonna chill it, as well as our CPU, which we are not gonna be LN2ing the CPU today. Now we're doing just CPU tests. We know how far the CPU will get. We're doing GPU tests. We know how far the CPU will get, 5.9 gigahertz, and I wanna see now how much more headroom we have on water with this. Probably won't be a lot, but again, every bit counts in this competition. So let's go ahead and get this thing ready for water. That is one beefy cooler right there, if you don't ask me. Anyway, it's not about the cooler. Well, this one. Check that out. Every time we do this, I feel like we improve the design slightly. Maybe not so much aesthetically, but at least this time we've got the condensation sort of contained in here, wrapped up with electrical tape and lots of paper towels so that we can avoid drips, because the fittings, anything that's metal that touches the air is where all the condensation is gonna form. It doesn't form on the plastic. Yeah, some does form around the block on the bottom, but believe it or not, that's so close to the heat source that condensation isn't really a problem there with the chilled water. Same thing on the backside. We never really see any sort of condensation form on the backside. So, did I scratch the backplate? Nope, we're good. All right, let's go ahead and get this over to the test bench and see if we can go any higher than we did on air. If we can, then we'll get ourselves another one of these cards, hopefully, if they're available, and then we will we'll go for it again in another video. So, another proof of concept video. You know, this is how this works. You do proof of concept like we did with just the CPU. We see how far we can go with that and theoretically say, yeah, we should be able to win, and then lose. And then go over here to our GPU and be like, well, theoretically, if this is higher independently with a higher CPU, then theoretically we should win. But the problem is I know Steve's probably working on LN2 or dry ice right now with that 9980XE with his Titans, which means the moment we win, he's gonna win again. Making all this work for nothing. There we go, yeah, woo! So here's what we're gonna do then. I'm gonna go ahead and load our 5.9 profile, but then I'm gonna pull everything back from there. So let's do 5.0. I mean, the nice thing about using an ICX card though is we can at least see what the different temperatures are on the board. Ironically, our VRMs came down like 10 degrees versus when the cooler was on there with the fan running. And it's overclocked right now. But it also loaded our previous settings. Plus 175 on the core, plus 1180 on the memory. So I guess we're gonna see if it passes that test. Okay, so our graphics score is a 7882. Now these are the same settings though upstairs that it was crashing on air. Now we didn't get that on camera, but we were crashing if we went above 1000 megahertz on the RAM, we're at 1180 on here. And if we went past 170 on the core, we were at 175 right now. Now 5 megahertz increments doesn't happen, it's like 12 megahertz or 15 megahertz increments on this. But we're gonna go ahead now and start pushing it and seeing if this card on water with unlimited power limit will allow us to actually get a higher score. Okay, so 7916, we are getting higher scores and I have really not started pushing the clocks too much. So I think I'm gonna push memory before I push core a little bit, because it's one of those things where depending on the test, sometimes memory really does give you a bigger increase in GPU. We've talked about that, and I know Steven's talked about that at Gamers Nexus before, where memory clock can give you a bigger increase sometimes than GPU core. So if you pull the core back but clock speed up on the memory, you see bigger gains. So we have to sort of whack-a-mole this and kind of figure out one before we go to the other and back and forth. Same thing with CPU testing when it comes to the CPU overclocks. We saw we got our max CPU scores by getting memory and memory timings tighter, and there's still a lot of timings on there we have to optimize. There's some pretty bad matches there, but we saw bigger gains from doing that than core speed. Remember, when we did LN2 the first time, we got all the way up to what, 5.7 before we even matched our 5.4 on dry ice when the memory was left at like its stock settings. So it all has to work as a system. 7942, very minimal gain, but stable nonetheless at 1225 on the memory clock. So I'm gonna go 1250. And if we look at our temperature, the hottest our core got was 16C. But we know the first like state of throttling starts at like 28C. So we've got a lot of headroom to be able to push this card.
What was your max power drop?
439 watts. So, which is like 65% of what the power limit will allow us to pull. Yeah, the pump died. That could have been why it crashed, because the GPU got hot. And then the CPU shut down. Which, as we're just sitting here like, I wonder what's happening. And it shut down, it was probably a thermal shutdown. But the pump is turning for sure. But it's making that whining sound because it can't move any water.
Hey Jay, I think I found the problem.
Yeah, Phil found it. This wasn't clicked in all the way. Now let's turn it on, and that should come shooting down. Thank God it was before I emptied the loop. This is why we have fills. Fills are important. We know that if we can match our dry ice scores on water, on the CPU, that LN2 will bring our scores up. Remember, we have to make up 100 points for Steven. From Steven, we have to do it before he goes with LN2 or dry ice. Our only hope at that point is that he pulls a noob mistake and blows his shit up like I did. But that probably won't happen. So my second hope is that his hair accidentally dips in the dry ice and breaks off. All right, so 7932, again on the graphics score, we are not improving anymore with extra memory. So I'm gonna go back to 1250. Now we're gonna push the core up a little bit.
The unlimited power of the GPU is pushing the cloud gate farther than it can handle. So you have to offset it with a zero slider. If the slider goes up and both sliders go up, the math is all wrong. You can't do that. Look at this. It is passing right now.
8,000 on the dot by increasing the CPU to 5.2. So we're just gonna see how high we can get the CPU now, just for the hell of it. Because again, remember, the whole point of this is testing one card to theoretically see if it can match and or beat the other card at much higher CPU. If we can match it with lower CPU, then we know once we go really high in the CPU, we win, theoretically. We also theoretically thought we were gonna win last time. Shut up, Phil. Shut up, Phil. Actually, there's one more test I can do right now. So we determined that obviously increasing the CPU speed right now isn't helping us. For some reason, we're actually seeing a diminishing return right there, which we know isn't the case when we use LN2. So something else going on right there. I'm not gonna worry about that too much, but I wanna test something. We know 2010 or 210 crashed with the memory super high. I'm gonna drop the memory back down to like, not 12,000, jeez, 1,200. Instead of 1,300 or 1,275, actually no, we'll go even farther, 1,150. And I wanna see if the core will survive with the memory reduced. And if that works, and then score goes up, then everything I said about leapfrogging is wrong. You know, I think you guys have figured out by now in this competition, we're just guessing. In fact, I think one of the extreme overclockers was even like, yeah, Jay did pretty good for not knowing anything about what he's doing. I take that as a compliment. I really do. Can't take that as an insult. He's absolutely right. Well, that didn't work. And yeah, 2235, we can't seem to get stable at this current temperature. So the next step is gonna be for us to drop the temperatures even further. We're gonna somehow get an LN2 pot hooked up to this thing, and we are going to, we're gonna go for it. I think we're gonna go for 2300 at least, not today. That's another video later on. I'll give you guys some time to sort of simmer down a bit over this competition. Some of you guys think we're milking this, but you don't understand. So we are learning. We are learning through failure, and we are educating through learnings of our failures. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching today's video, but we did learn, indeed, that one, the Further Win 3 card, with the modified BIOS that removes the power limit entirely, the air cooler never saw any hotter than 54C when the fans were at 100%, when we overclocked it to 2145 is what we were seeing on air. And that's a hell of an air cooler. And then once you add colder temps, we were able to push that all the way up to 2220, which now tells us if we can go even colder, let's see if we can get it around 0C under load, we could potentially hit 2050, 2075, who knows? But we're experimenting, we're taking you guys along for the ride, which is the point of these videos. Thanks for watching, and I don't have to clean this mess up because now we have a dedicated area for this that we came in on an off day and actually cleaned, sort of. Just don't turn the camera around. We can actually Chep. Just painted 120 barrels yesterday. That's the whole point of these videos. We're experimenting, but taking you guys along for the ride. So hopefully, just subscribe.